Carlos Aragon. I met Carlos as he was kind of watching our programs maybe about 2 years ago, and then I invited Carlos to come onto the program. Carlos is probably one of the most inspiring amateur astronomers that gets engaged in astronomy outreach, and I'm going to let him tell his story. But this is a guy that is really making a difference in people's lives. And it's a story of triumph, certainly deserves some sort of an Oscar or an award for what he's doing because he's making a big difference. Carlos, do you want to come on to our program here?
Absolutely, I'm here.
Great, great. So, just to kind of give you a little bit of a background on Carlos, 2 years ago I had learned that Carlos had troubles of his own. He had, if I remember it correctly, Carlos, you were hurt during your work as an aircraft mechanic, as I recall, and you
Yes.
had maybe your shoulder was crushed or something like that. Anyways, and sadly had to recover with painkillers and all the rest of it. But I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna let you tell this story, okay? Because it is an amazing story, and you guys need to hear it from the person that experienced it. So, thanks again for coming on to Global Star Party, Carlos.
It's an honor to be here, Scott. Thanks to everyone who's joined the stream and watching from around the world. It's incredible that we get to do this. And no, it doesn't matter if I'm at home comfy in my garage, I still get nervous. It doesn't, yeah. So
All right.
bear with me. So welcome. I am the CEO of an organization in Tucson, Arizona called Reach for the Stars. We are a new organization. We are 3 years old. And the way it came about was kind of interesting. And I'll share a little bit about that. But our mission is to, one second. Our mission is to use astronomy and charity work to uplift, empower, and positively impact health issues in youth, teens, and adults. So, by the way, I'm going to go through just a couple slides, but just so you have an idea, none of these are stock images. They are all from us, my team. So, yeah.
Cool.
Am I still here?
You are still there. You just
Okay.
dropped out for just a second.
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't share my screen. Okay. So, I joined the military when I was 18. I was in for almost 7 years, and I had my entire life ahead of me. I was dedicated to the military. I was so excited. I did my best in everything that I could, and I learned my job very well. But one day, after 5.5 years, I was inside of a C-130 aircraft, and I was crushed. I was crushed in my right shoulder. I severed a few nerves, including the long thoracic, which controls all the strength in your shoulder, especially overhead strength. And as a mechanic, half the work you do is over your head. So that was devastating. I was immediately put on painkillers, and they didn't really describe anything to me. I was young, and soon became dependent. If you take them, especially at the level that I was, for any amount of time over a month, your brain starts to change and it gets dependent. So I became dependent very quickly, and they immediately medically retired me from the Air Force. So I lost my entire career in an afternoon, and I was forced to move off the base relatively quickly. And my wife at the time, she was struggling to find work, and Long story short, I ended up becoming homeless, divorced, addicted. For a little over a year, I was on the streets of Tucson, living in, at first it was a few friends' houses, but then it ended up being a bush, actually, next to a Safeway. And I made a little cave out of this big old bush, and it was, you try to hide from everyone. It's very scary, especially at night. And so that went on. It was very difficult, but I make a disability. So my 40% disability paycheck was enough to keep me alive and keep me fed. Um, One day someone basically looked at me and said, you're dying. And I realized that I could feel my body withering. And they took me to the VA rehab. I joined and decided to change my life. Well, after about 6 months, I graduated, and even though I was clean off narcotics, I had a fresh start. I couldn't find work. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't remember myself from 5 years ago. I grew up as happy kid with like big dreams, but that all left. So I became really depressed. And one day here in Tucson, we went to Walmart and got a $40 telescope. Now, I'm not advocating for Walmart telescopes, but that little telescope changed my life drastically. And that night I set it up in the backyard. I pointed it at the brightest thing in November or something, and it happened to be Jupiter. Now, the moons were visible, of course. I could see cloud bands, and every few seconds or so, I could see a little mushy spot on the surface, and I realized it was Jupiter, and it just blew my mind. I could not understand how a little plastic tube with a couple lenses could transfer me from one place on Earth to a bird's eye view of a planet or something. So for the next 3 hours, I began hunting. I started hunting and looking everywhere and getting just completely dove into this, and I wanted to learn more. And I went inside after a few hours, and my wife, she said, whatever you're doing, you need to keep doing that. That's helping. So keep doing that. So I did some research. I got a 8-inch telescope, the Dobsonian, and I realized that when I was looking through the eyepiece, I didn't feel any type of stress, anxiety, any type of PTSD symptoms. I was there traveling space, and I wondered if anyone else could get the same type of feeling out of it, could get the same type of help or coping mechanism. David Levy's raising his hands.
Right.
So yeah, it's a huge, huge thing, and so we just brought the telescope to the Safeway, and see if anyone else would want to come, and it was a huge hit. At the time, I didn't know there was an astronomy club out here. We're actually closer to Vail, just outside town, and so we just started a little Facebook group, and it blew up, and for a little while we were volunteering at a veterans nonprofit helping the homeless, and that fell through. And so we were at home just thinking, we don't need to be at a nonprofit to be doing something for people. We can still do stuff at home. But why don't we combine the charity work that we're doing, the homeless backpacks, the food program, with this astronomy stuff that we're doing, and mesh it all into one? Charity work is good for the soul. It's uplifting. There's so many positive things about it. And then it's the same thing with astronomy. It turns out that astronomy is proven to help with stress and anxiety. What the heck? Why aren't people talking about this? So we created Reach for the Stars, and the name describes itself, but it is a nonprofit that combines the two, charity work and astronomy, into one, focusing on kids at first, because think about it. Kids are easier to mentor when they're young, and adults, we're not so easy to get, to change unless you're in a very vulnerable state, like I was when I was very depressed even after being in rehab. But the main thing we focus on kids is there's a Arizona has 17% higher than the national average for youth stress, anxiety, and suicide.
Hmm.
And that hurts. So the fact that astronomy can be so influential and change a lot of things, we've wanted to focus in on youth. And so that's our main program is youth. We also have a monthly star party um, on the outside of town. It's always everything we do is free, and it's just an amazing organization. And could you believe it? We're 3 years old today. Not today, a month ago, but we won. We got in the top. I don't know how to say it. We were awarded a favorite, the top three nonprofits in Tucson, which there's a few thousand of them.
Wow.
We were awarded the best nonprofit in Tucson between the Humane Society and Pima Animal Care Center.
Wow.
Puppies. I don't know how we're competing
That's
against
hard to
puppies.
compete against puppies.
My goodness. So
Wow.
whatever our mission, it's working, it's changing kids' lives. We have a food program, the homeless backpack program. The kids build the boxes, build the backpacks. We have them involved with the charity work. We involve them with STEM, um, rockets, science experiments, anything to find out what they could be interested in the realm of space and science, with a goal to better the future, with a goal to better their lives, to send them on a trajectory, help them find something to stick to and to want to learn. A lot of kids don't like school, including our son. So finding something that really interests them and you know, gets them excited can help with school too. You might not think it, but kids do have anxiety. Think about bullying. Think
Oh
about
yeah.
problems at home with their parents, divorces, all kinds of things. And so these kids need help, and that's what our mission is. Um, we also give we donate telescopes to low income families, the little Celestron First scopes, and we do fundraisers for that. But it's an amazing mission, and I'm very, very proud and happy to be here. And it's incredible to me that the terrible experiences I went through led to this life changing. This is a 24/7 passion that I get to live,
That's
and
awesome.
it's not a hobby anymore. It's a lifestyle, and a lot of that will resonate with the viewers. For some of us, it's a lifestyle, and it's very inspirational in many ways. So very fortunate to be doing this, and we hope to spread the word. But one quick thing, one thing I want to talk about is how do we get them excited about astronomy? Sometimes it's a little difficult, especially if they're always on Xbox playing Call of Duty or something. Having them come from that to this, we have to blow their minds, okay? Blow their minds at star parties on these live streams. Do anything that we can to figure out what they're interested in or get them interested in. For example, at our stargazing events, we try to have one of every type of equipment: a refractor, a reflector, an SET, a big Dob, binoculars, an EAA setup. Even for teens and adults, we try to figure out what they like to try to get them to come back. If they don't have a great experience and it doesn't blow their minds, they're not going to come back in the future to another stargazing event if their friends are talking about it. No, well, let's go to the movies. No, we have to blow their minds. So I want to inspire each of you to truly try to share this lifestyle with as many people as possible, and to try to figure out what they're interested in and share your knowledge with them we let people rent out some, not rent, but we let them borrow the equipment for a month or 3 months to try to get that to flourish into something. And so we have to get them excited. Whatever it is we have to do, we need to try to do it. So we even have like a big 14-foot projector on the side of our trailer, and we show the Sky Safari or Stellarium app during sunset until it gets dark, and then we switch it to red, and we try to give them an amazing experience, inspire them, and all the above that I just talked about wraps up into making their lives more positive and more healthy. And so that's our mission. We're currently working from home, and we hope to find a building soon, whether it's an abandoned building. I don't care. We just need a building to turn into a community observatory and learning center for free access to space for anyone who wants to come and join us, for volunteer work galore. We do all types of fun stuff like that. So thank you guys for having me. And it's an honor to be here again.
Wow. Good Lord. Thank you again. I've got goosebumps from all of this. Certainly, I know that astronomy can be life changing. That it's a gateway to exploration. It's a gateway to to start a constant path, a journey of curiosity. And that wakes people up and lets them see the other possibilities that exist in their lives. Most astronomers know, and this is one of the great advantages of astronomy is that we know that we're, as Carl Sagan said, we're on this pale blue dot that's out there flying through space. We're sharing this spaceship, that's kind of the way I think about it, But you are someone that I so deeply admire, Carlos, for the work that you're doing to lift people up. Most people, when they see homeless people, they just want to pretend they don't exist. Because they think they're going to be asking them for money, or they're going to be, there's going to be something wrong. They're not clean, whatever it is. Okay, and for you to roll up your sleeves and show these people the universe and to feed them and to get them going. Wow. I mean, that is amazing. It is really amazing. And so I'm pleased that you're back on to tell your story again. I have posted your website in chat a couple of times here. If you're moved by what Carlos and his team are doing, give them some support, every little bit helps, and I as soon as I can jump on, I'm gonna send some money your way as well. So,
every dollar,
every dollar helps, right?
Every dollar pays for a 3-course meal for a low-income family, your neighbors. So one quick thing, my wife also she had a traumatic brain injury. She became bedridden and became an alcoholic. And we met in rehab. That's where we met. And I know it sounds crazy, but when you have someone who understands triggers, understands the signs of whether it be cravings or depression or all that type, those symptoms, it's very, very helpful. And she is an amazing beacon of light, and she has an amazing story herself. And together, I don't know, we just got married a few months ago, and
oh wow,
I've never been happier in my life. Even when I was making money and in the military, had a career ahead of me. That's nothing compared to this, and we don't make any money. We're all volunteers.
Carlos, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I wanted to first of all say that I was deeply, deeply moved by your presentation. It is one of the most moving that I've ever heard on the Global Star Party. Where is the Safeway? Which Safeway did you set up your telescope at?
The one in Vale on Marion Cleveland Way in Wentworth.
No kidding.
Yes.
Oh, great.
I know you live just down the street.
Just down the street from us, almost walking distance.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And next time you do that, please let me know.
I will. I will. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Carlos, I just want you to know too that you have resources not only through Global Star Party, but Explore Scientific would be so moved to help out, and myself personally. And there's this is the important stuff. This is why this is a big reason why we do this outreach. And I do sidewalk astronomy from time to time. I often run into someone that is homeless. There's a college town real close to Explore Scientific, and I never turn them away. I always engage with them, talk with them. Many times
Just
they're drunk
hello
or
and
they're
bright news.
whatever,
Make
if
someone's
you can
day.
capture someone's attention a little bit, I'm not handing them food, and maybe I should, but
Say
um,
hello. You
yeah,
know, that can
I
make someone's day.
acknowledge them as a human being, right?
Yeah, people ignore you, and it's very hurtful. So,
Yeah. Well, great. Um,
everyone,
well, thank you so much, Carlos, and hopefully you're inclined to come on to the next Global Star Party and to show more about what you're doing, and um, let's do what we can to bring more attention to your Reach for the Stars program. Thanks again.
thanks, Scott.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back with Marcelo Souza in Brazil. So thanks for tuning in to the 111th Global Star Party.
Definitely gonna try imaging the sunflower again. I haven't tried that in a few.
Yeah, it was interesting to learn about the structure, the
Oh
spiral
yeah,
arms, and all the
I
rest of
love
it.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot. I posted along with while she was talking. Astronomy magazine did an article on M63. So if you're kind of following along, and you can kind of zoom back to the chats there if you want to
Neat.
go back and click that link. Uh, Obviously, we shared the link for Reach for the Stars. I made
Thank
a I made a small donation myself, and
thank
um,
you, Scott.
but yeah, of course. And there's some things that we want to do at Explore Scientific with. Normally we kind of have followed a traditional path of just making donations at events and that kind of thing. But I think that what you're doing is definitely changing lives. I don't have to just hear it. I've experienced it to a degree, and so I'm really enthusiastic about supporting your program.
Well, that that's incredible. And yeah, everyone's been through something. Everyone's in need in some kind of way,
Sure.
whether they're open to talk about it or not. And I think astronomy, when they say it's for everyone, not only age-wise, but mentally.
Mhm.
So it's just very important, and I hope we can lower that 17% down, and one day I hope to add a dedicated PTSD for veterans program for
Mm.
astronomy. So that's
Carlos,
the goal.
do you get? Obviously, you're affecting the psychological aspect of people struggling through this. Do you have people on your team? I was kind of looking at the different people that have volunteered on your website. Do you have any, direct uh, help from psychologists, or do you have you
No,
gone that far?
we're so to become a actual healthcare organization.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of steps in licensing, and we don't have any professional healthcare providers on our team. We do have volunteers who work as a school therapist or at a psychologist, but no one on the board. But we reach out to those people and get mentored from them.
Sure.
So so they assist us, and basically, we astronomy is a coping mechanism in itself. You don't really have to talk too much about the how to improve mental health outside of astronomy. Astronomy is the key. So
Right.
the better we can translate astronomy into their lives, whether it's giving them a telescope with a 10-hour lesson or private event at their house, teaching their entire family how to use it. We try to do what we can, but when we're working here from home, we can't really do much. So we're trying to raise money. As you can see, this big monster telescope behind me.
Right.
We're restoring it for a client. So I'm doing restorations and trying to, raise money any way I can. So
Is it broken? Is there
it's
something wrong
just
with it?
very old. He hasn't used it in 8 years. He bought it 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It turns on, but the optics are quite dirty. There's gunk inside the bottom of the tube.
Yeah.
So, so he had the corrector plate out at some point. Don't know why, but I don't
Okay.
ask questions. I just dive
Don't ask questions. Just
in.
move on. Now, if you run into a problem with that, I do have people on our staff that are very familiar. I would be one of them because I worked at Meade for 21 years. So, and been all of, helped build them and take them apart and repair them in the field and all the rest of it. So, if you need any advice or help in that regard, let me know.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah. Okay, we're going to switch to a couple of little videos, and then we're going to come back with